Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Sorry for the delayed show. That's what happens when toddlers run your world. But here we are now to talk about the subject we're all familiar with from today, and as I suspect, probably annoyed as hell about. LSU likely starting safety. I'm just going to say likely because we haven't seen this confirmed, but I think we can all say with pretty strong confidence that he's going to start for LSU. And now that starter, potentially, you know, a game changing type of guy who high tackle grades, high coverage grades as well for a strong safety, someone who's over 222 pounds, has multiple interception games in his locker, has done all this stuff. We're going to have to go against Clemson without this guy from the beginning. And, we said it all fall camp. LSU have had no real injuries. They've had no big time absences, big time problems going on. The Nussmeier thing is worrying, the pain threshold really more than anything. Not getting another hit down there, of course, but that's kind of typical with a lot of other guys. Aaron Anderson, same thing, the knee. But really, outside of those guys and a few, guys who just got kind of dinged up, Nick Anderson, people like that through fall camp, not really too much to worry about. LSU have been very, very healthy and looking positive from a health standpoint going into this season. And you felt like, okay, this defense, especially, missing 4 out of 5 offensive line starters, all this stuff, unfamiliar line. Well, you can definitely count on your defense. This defense is going to be balls out, right? A return to the LSU defenses of old. Well, we might see that. We still might see that. LSU still might have a great defensive game against Clemson, but you're not going to do it with AJ Haulcy for the entire first half. Why? Why? AJ Haulcy is suspended the entire first half of the Clemson game because of an ejection in the bowl game against BYU. Okay. His final appearance for Houston. 2 minutes, 50 something seconds left in the game, and he gets an unsportsmanlike ejection. And yes, it was kind of a scuffle. Can't quite tell what happens on the camera. And then it shows the flags being thrown, some guys getting, pushed away, teammates trying to move Haulcy away from the scene of the crime kind of thing. And bam. Bam, bam, bam. Suspended for the first half of this game retroactively for the I'm sorry, I'm having trouble kind of saying this like to kind of set it up because I still cannot even fathom how this has happened. Um, I'm almost at a loss for words. LSU always have some type of major distraction before week one. Don't we all? Don't we usually have this happen? You didn't think there would be one. You had the Tristan Keys flip, but it's like, well, that's recruiting. And then moments later, you heard whispers of it. Is Haulcy he could be suspended? Is Haulcy going to be suspended? And the NCAA doesn't tell LSU first. They tell Pete Thamel of ESPN first. And he breaks the news. that AJ Haulcy, no bueno for the first half. And this is something we reported earlier, was like, this is up in the air, but per their rules, he should be able to play. There's no more punishment, right? It's an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty per the rules, even if it's an ejection. But here's the one caveat. The refs decided to eject him in that game. He was ejected, and then the conference told Houston of the decision. Okay, they told Houston he's not going to be able to play the first half of first game of the next season. Whether Haulcy knew that or not, I can't quite confirm that. But we know that Houston knew that, and we now know that LSU did not, because LSU only found out about this Wednesday. Okay, this is obviously Clemson reporting this, but LSU did not do their due diligence here, because this should have been known. This should have been known by somebody. I mean, I'm almost like angry at myself for not picking up on this, because I watched a ton of Haulcy film, and I remember seeing a little bit of this incident, but I don't recall him being ejected from the game. And it's just mind blowing, because he was ejected, obviously, and usually that means you're suspended the first half of the next game. And I understand that's the rule. The other guy for BYU was ejected as well. He has to sit out the first half of the game. Okay. But does it not anger you that this just reeks of Clemson weakness? This just reeks of the NCAA desperate to pretend in some way, shape, or form that they have some type of control over college football still. Trying to pretend that we're doing our job, we're all over this. This reeks of the NCAA putting their nose in a situation that really didn't need it, didn't require it. And I understand the rules are the rules, the rules are the rules. But we maybe should change this rule, because this is absolutely stupid. Suspending him the first half of a game for the next season for a very minor incident. And I understand it was a nasty, coming together, all this stuff. I've heard different versions of what actually happened. I'm not going to comment on that until I know for sure. I don't want to say something about AJ Haulcy that might not be true. And so we're going to wait on that. And it really doesn't matter, because Haulcy, one of the expected standout players for LSU, will not be there for the first half against Clemson in this big game where you really want to set a tone defensively early. And now Cade Klubnik, he has an area of the field he can target, and maybe he didn't feel too comfortable throwing the football over AJ Haulcy's head. Maybe they felt comfortable sucking him into the box, getting him lost in coverages. Maybe they didn't. But either way, with Cade Klubnik, he's going to be thinking more with Haulcy. He's going to be afraid more with Haulcy to put that football in that area, because he knows how good that dude is. Whereas maybe Deshaun Spears, Davion Toviano, maybe there is more confidence throwing the football into those areas with those backups now taking his spot for the first half. This is a big hit to LSU. I really don't have any time for people who want to sugarcoat this and say, oh, we're fine. This is going to be fine. If it turns out that way and LSU basically, limit them, keep them down, it's like, 13 to 3 at halftime or something, and it's a surprising great defense, then great. That's fantastic. But right now, you have to say on the surface of this that LSU are going to give up probably a few more big plays than they would have in this first half without AJ Haulcy. I don't know exactly what this means for the game, what it means with him coming in, kind of cold in the second half. He's just ripped and rearing to play this game, and now you're sidelined for the first half. That is a mental thing as well. And remember, this game, you can talk about physicality and all this stuff all you want, and that, of course, that plays a role, duh. But in football, especially those who played the game, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this. Football, especially on the defensive line, especially playing defense, tackling people, being aggressive, that is all a mental part of the game. That is all a major mental facet. And that's why you see sometimes the undersized defensive line punishing this oversized but kind of like lackadaisical O line. These guys with 300 pounds, 6'6", all this stuff, great measurables, but they just can't hang. Oh, shoot. Helicopters are coming for me. No, run. I don't know if you guys can hear that helicopter in the background, but I decided to make a joke of it. Randy Jones, my man. What's up, Randy? Tuning in with us. How's your night, brother? He says, let's hope this doesn't hurt us. Well, I mean, let's hope. Let's really let's hope. Let's pray. Let's convene. Let's do a mantra. I mean, I'm willing to try anything to make sure like this is okay. But it comes down to those players on the field. It comes down to Jake Olson, comes down to Corey Raymond, comes down to Blake Baker, making the right decision when you have a deeper safety room now. You do have more options from which to choose at safety. Now, who do you go with? Who do you go with to replace Haulcy? That to me might be the biggest question here, obviously. Like there's so many questions. How will we play without Haulcy? How will we look without Haulcy? We haven't quite seen LSU on the field with Haulcy. We've seen him in practices, we've seen fall camp scenarios, scrimmages, but we haven't really seen him on the field with LSU. So like we don't know that. But we do know, Deshaun Spears, great talent, but thrown out there only 2 snaps in that USC game, but one of them he whiffs on that one-on-one tackle in the red zone. I don't understand. I think it was the injury to Jordan Gilbert that necessitated his involvement in the game as a true freshman, throwing him in there in the red zone like that, giving up the game-winning touchdown. I have a lot of trust in Deshaun Spears, but to ask anybody whether, who's expecting to probably contributor role off the bench, expecting those guys to come in and replace AJ Haulcy like that. Here's what I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see Mansour Delane, who played some safety during spring, not really much during fall, but during spring they had him at safety more than a few times. And he can definitely do the job. I think what you do is potentially move him back there, and then you start DJ Pickett and Ashton Stamps. What do you guys think about that? I think you put Delane back there just because it's like, hey, you think we're gonna put one of these youngster guys back there, and we could get away with that. But I think we move the experience and the dude who has the technical abilities to do it back there at safety, not his natural role, but he can do it. I think you move him back there over Spears, over Toviano. And I'm a big fan of both of those guys. And I'm kind of shocked that Toviano has played, more or less 3 full seasons as far as eligibility wise at LSU. And really, we haven't seen much. And that's not really on him. It's more of a lack of opportunities. There's also, the off-field stuff. But like Toviano, we're not really former 5-star, and we're not really sure what type of player he is. He's a great tackler, but is he a safety? Is he a nickel? He played corner as a freshman. Like I don't think that's what he is, but is he a star? I mean, they haven't really found a positional home for him. Maybe strong safety. Maybe that's the right move. I I I think the right move though is you move Mansour to lane back at safety and you start Pickett. I think he's ready for this moment. And then second half, bring Haulcy back in, move Delane back into his right spot. It's just it puts Blake Baker in a shitty spot, so close to the game. We're talking just 2 days before the game is when we find out that Haulcy can't play the first half. And I got on the phones and I got on the phones with a few media people and then a few people that I have contacts with at LSU. And I wanted to know just how did LSU overlook this? How did this happen? And I really got no straight answer, which tells me that they straight up just overlooked this. I mean, that's by what I'm told, it's quite obvious that this was overlooked. And I get it. People in the media did it too. And it was only up until these few days, probably a week ago, that Clemson went crying to the NCAA and said, hey, but here's the thing. If LSU didn't catch this, okay, but Clemson did, think about this. I think actually Clemson did us a favor because think about this. Think about the ramifications of us playing Haulcy in this game as an ineligible player during that first half. And say we win this game with like a brutal, bruising, awesome performance. And then we find out the game because of an ineligible player. We have to forfeit the game. We have to forfeit the win. It would be a psychological catastrophe, even more so than losing to Clemson. Being able to beat them on the road and then find out it's you have an ineligible player that you didn't realize you had, and now we're going to have to retroactively, give you a forfeit of this game. That's what we're talking about here. This is how weird this situation got. This is so disgusting to lose a player like this. I mean, it's only the first half, but to lose such a critical player at a position you finally were feeling good about at safety, and now you're going to go into that game and what if Cade Klubnik drops a few bombs over the safeties' heads early in this game, and then even if you bring Haulcy into the game, well, okay, Klubnik's tested that out. He's going to try it again, and what if you just don't want to give these guys confidence, and you don't want to take the confidence away from our defense that has to be feeling pretty damn good about themselves right now after one hell of a fall camp. And I mean, Brian Kelly spoke to the media earlier this afternoon and said that they were still awaiting word. And really, if you listen to his tone, I immediately knew, oh my God, he's not playing because Kelly kept talking about adjust, adjust, we'll adjust. Yeah, we're ready to adjust. We're ready, and it's like shit, like he's not talking about like, hey, we're ready. He's gonna play for us. They're of course saying we're gonna have him ready to start for us, all this stuff, but he kept saying the word adjust. He kept saying the word adjust, and it was like, oh God, this is not gonna happen. And so I apologize for maybe the uncertainty of my wording with my report. I keep reading it back and I don't see a fault with it. But if people read it wrong, then I obviously wrote it wrong. So I need to kind of work on that and make sure that there's no miscommunication. We're basically reporting, hey, this is up in the air. It's about to be, he should be playing by the rules, by all of this stuff. The unsportsmanlike conduct penalty that he got, even though it was an ejection, it should not cost him the first half of the game. You know, but hey, I posted in parentheses, half joking, the NCAA loves to do anything it can to prevent LSU Tigers from taking a field. And people gave me a lot of shit about that because I think they were more worried than anything by that. Like, oh God, don't tell us that. Just give us a straight answer. And I'm like saying, we don't have one right this second. He should play, but is he going to? Are the NCAA going to overstep their bounds and make sure to really punish LSU by the letter of the law? I don't know. I understand why this is happening. I understand the ejection, have to sit out the first. I get it. But the fact that Houston knew about this, we're told about this. But hey, once you take someone else's player, why the hell are they going to do you any favors? Hey, the guy you just took from us, by the way, can't play the first half. Just so you know, guys, want to help you out. Like, obviously, that wasn't going to happen. But I think Clemson actually saved LSU from what could have been a disaster. Brian Kelly's already getting so much shit just for this happening. I mean, Brian Kelly's always going to get shit. I mean, whether he does it or not, I'm not really shitting on Brian Kelly. I'm just telling you what's happening. He's getting a ton of shit from all sides because how could you overlook this? Another Kelly screw up. How could you overlook this? That type of narrative. And meanwhile, you have an NCAA that is just completely irrelevant, that has to inform Pete Thamel of the news before they can even inform LSU. And so I get how could LSU overlook this? And I understand that. I get why they did. I get how they did. But I think Clemson actually exposing this, if they did, to the NCAA, saved LSU from a total catastrophe. Because if you think Brian Kelly's getting crap right now, think of the crap we would have gotten if we had to forfeit the game for fielding an ineligible player. Just think of that for a moment. And so this is big news. This is big news. This will affect LSU defensively. There's no way you can get around that. The question is how much. The question is how much does it hurt LSU defensively in that first half? Can LSU overcome the loss of Haulcy? And I think we can. I think LSU can overcome this loss in the first half. I think they can hold the rope long enough till that second half. I think that Clemson O-line is a little overrated, and they're injured as well. But you wanted to have your full weapons. You wanted to have your full cachet of available options. And I was really looking forward to watching Haulcy starting this game, balling out at safety. I'm I'm just stunned by this situation because LSU really could have been in a moment here, and if they hadn't found this out for 2 days, which I think someone would have figured it out by game day. I think someone would have figured it out, some type of official. But the fact that we could have played this game with an ineligible player, I don't think people are talking about that enough. I don't think anyone's even thinking about that. LSU could have forfeited a opening week 1 win over number 4 Clemson for fielding an ineligible player, and we should actually thank Clemson for sparing us that complete embarrassment and catastrophe. I'm I'm not joking around. Like, I know it's maybe a weird take, but I'm stunned by the situation that we did not know about this. Really, frankly, stunned. I don't think there's any way you can make excuses for anyone here not knowing about this. How did AJ Haulcy not know about this is my question. And I think that goes down to Houston as well. How come Houston didn't make him aware of this? Did they know that they were going to lose Haulcy the whole time? Very, very, very weird scenario here. And I actually think it's just for the best because he's ineligible for the first half. LSU could have found themselves in a crazy, I'm talking a crazy situation that would have literally followed Brian Kelly for the rest of his career. You let an ineligible player, like you had to forfeit the game. Like, it would have been a historic event of just absolute drama, insanity. And so thank God that did not happen. But LSU have to figure out a way around not having AJ Haulcy. And I think they can do it. It's going to be a tough, nasty, nasty game. And I think we're going to see just how good AJ Haulcy is. Like, I think you're going to find out how much of an impact he makes on this team by not having him in the first half and then having him in the second half. But we've seen it in week 1 with this LSU team against many different opponents in many different arenas, many different theaters of football violence. And there's been a few of these games where the game was technically effectively over by half, or at least the other team starting to